So we hear in the gospel today some outrageous, terrible sounding things like plucking out eyes and cutting off arms in order to enter the kingdom of God. But we have to recognize that Jesus is using hyperbole here. He's exaggerating in order to make a point. And the basic message behind this hand lopping and eye plucking is radical decision. That's what the bottom line is. Whenever Billy Graham used to finish his crusade as he was traveling around the country, he always gave his audience a final challenge. Decide. Decide for Christ. And that's pretty much what today's gospel message is all about. What are we to decide? Well, to discover this, I suggest that we turn to a famous picture which I think we're all familiar with, which has Jesus standing outside a door that's covered in ivy. There's no knocker, there's no handle on the door. The idea is that Jesus stands at this door and knocks, but there's no way for him to enter unless the person on the other side opens it. And again, this is the gospel message today. It's time for a radical decision. And what is that decision? Well, it's time to open the door to Jesus once and for all. And like it or not, we must decide not to open just one door, but three. It's the door to the past, the door to the present, and the door to the future. First, open the door to the past. And that means facing the reality of what is done is done. That's it. What we did, the hurtful things, the heartbreaking things, the arrogant things, the unjust things, they're done. And we just can't undo them. And the only way we can deal with past hurts and sins that haunt us is to open the door to Jesus. The name that tradition has for this opening is forgiveness. There are some things that you and I don't fix. A death, a divorce, a hurt, a betrayal, an infidelity. They're there. The only response there is forgiveness. We cannot undo what's been done, regret it though we might. We can only submit ourselves to the unconditional love of Christ, who can absorb all things. Secondly, we must decide to open the door to the present. And that means you have to ask yourself, what's going on in my life right now? What has to be cut off? What's standing in the way from me being fully alive? What has to be plucked out? Cut it off, pluck it out. It's time to come to put things into perspective. That's the moment for you to open the door to Jesus in the present. The final door is the door to the future. And that simply means giving yourself over to Christ totally. This is the Christ who says to us, "Come to me, all you who labor and find life burdensome, and I will give you rest." This is the Christ who says, "I am the way and the truth and the life." Decide. Decide what you have to cut off and pluck out to open these doors of the past, of the present, and the future. And the next time you hear that rather upsetting gospel and remark to yourself, "My God, that sounds so terrible, so awful," just remember that Jesus is exaggerating in order that he can make you realize you have to decide. Decide what has to be thrown away in order that you might be truly free.